Welcome to Reseller Recap, where we talk all things reselling across multiple platforms. Join us for real-life discussions on how we crush the elusive work-life balance. Grab a coffee and join us now.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Reseller Recap with Jen, Emily, and Morgan. Today we have Peter joining us. He is the IP mentor. He's going to share all things with us that we may not have thought through and we really should be as business owners. So welcome, Peter.
Hey, thanks for the invite. Happy to be here.
So I know you are a lawyer, so feel free to kind of give us your lawyer lingo before we get started so everybody knows.
All right, everybody, this is for educational purposes only. There's the legal jargon. None of this is legal advice. You should actually take this information and refer it to your own attorneys and get your own opinions. I'd say it in another language, but I don't know any other languages. So
yeah. So I was like, feel free to say it the way that you need to say it.
Exactly.
We are not lawyers, even though I thought I wanted to be one in a former life. But, you know, it's good.
Absolutely. I've been an IP attorney for 27 years. I definitely know what I'm talking about, but you should always run your own situations by your own attorneys. Just to be
perfect. Have you always done IP law then, your whole time?
Yeah. So, well, it's kind of funny. I started out in electrical engineering. And I was half a year from, not even half a year, I was like 2 months from graduating with a degree in electrical engineering. I was working 3 jobs because my parents couldn't afford to put me through college. And so that was giving me like room and board, food, stuff like that. And I hated what I was doing. Like I was completely miserable. And then one of the jobs was at Daffodils in Buffalo. And one of the waiters came up to me and said, "You're really pissing me off." And I said, "What do you mean by I'm pissing you off?" And he said, You're miserable every freaking day. And I don't understand why, because you're going to graduate an electrical engineering degree. You're going to make more money than any of us. What is your problem? And I said, "I think I'm going to be bored for the rest of my life." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I love technology, but as an electrical engineer, I'm working on the same thing every day for months, and I get bored easily. I need to work on new things all the time. I love people. I love technology. Need to do new things." And that's when he said, "Have you heard of patent law?" And I was like, "What the hell? Like, what the heck's patent law? I've never heard of patent law."
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and I was literally 2 months from graduating. And so I applied to 2 law schools, number one in the world for patent law, which at the time was Franklin Pierce Law Center, and like the law school where I was in Buffalo. Nobody even heard of that law school, you know? So, and the one I was in, like I paid these guys for multiple years to be in their own school. They said, "You don't qualify to go to our law school." I said, "What?" Hold it. What? So I don't know what that was about. But then number one law school in the world reaches out to me and says, "We want to interview you." And so I was dating a girl at the time. She said, "You need to go there. I know the school." She was a grad student at Harvard in Massachusetts. And she says, "I know the school. You need to go there. Like you have to interview, do whatever you can." And so I said, "All right, well, let me do it." So I did. And the rest is history. Like they interviewed with me. I met my wife there. She couldn't stand me. It was an amazing story. And somehow I grew on her like a virus, and she couldn't get the cure. And so we've been married for like 27 years now. But that's how I got into IP. It was not my intent. I was an EE guy. But the beauty of it is now I understand technology and I understand law. So I take both of those and I apply them to AI and to like protecting brands and content creators. And now I can cover literally every area of intellectual property and AI law at once. So sometimes your mistakes turn into remarkable blessings.
Yes.
That's amazing.
We talk about that a lot because all of us have had such weird like migrations into getting into the seller world. And most people don't like wake up and go, "I want to do this." This is not a career people typically choose out the gate. So
absolutely. I tell people like your scars in life end up becoming literally pathways for other people to be successful if you figure out how to use it to your benefit. Like you really can do really well with the things that seem like they're setting you back. But anyways, I'm sure you didn't want to talk about that.
No, that's great. And me and Peter had a chance meeting at the Alibaba event in Vegas a couple weeks ago and created this friendship, and now we're forever linked by that interview.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It was a really good interview. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm interested, you said you work with content creators. Like, what is it that creators are doing right now that are putting them at risk?
That's a really good question. I love content creators because they all have a story. And honestly, as a content creator, if you can figure out how to master your story to the benefit of others, you can do incredibly well, like really, really well. But the problem with a lot of content creators is that they don't have access to legal information. They don't have access to things about trademarks, AI law, copyright law, deep fakes. What a lot of them are doing is they're copying things that are out there. They're modifying them. They believe it's okay, and then they get sued. And then they spend a lot of time creating an online course, a virtual event, an ebook, whatever it is, a podcast. And then all of a sudden they get a cease and desist letter. Or as they're creating an online course, they find somebody that copies literally everything that they just spent the last 3 months in creating. They copy it like that. And they're going, well, hold it. Like all the time and money I spent in ads, in copy, in pushing this online course. How does this guy just copy my stuff and sell the exact same thing and make all my money? That's where intellectual property law comes in. That's where AI law comes in. Like if you understand that, you'll be highly successful. You don't run into these horrible blips where you're spending a lot of time and effort building something and somebody else gets all the benefit of it. And that's the difference between somebody who dabbles as a content creator and somebody who has a long-term successful business. There's a lot of dabblers. Everybody and their mother's a dabbler as a content creator right now. Everybody goes on TikTok, Instagram, like they're all pushing content, right? But the ones that will survive and the ones that make a lot of money long-term understand branding, they understand trademarks, they understand copyright, and they're just hearing about AI. They're just learning about what the major issues are with AI. Most content creators, I say over 90% of them, don't have a clue that the stuff that they're uploading is going to the public, that the results that they're using could get them sued for copyright infringement, trademark infringement, that the things that they're creating using AI, they can't own under copyright law, so they can't stop other people from copying it. But there's a way to make the settings for AI, and there's a way to look at the results from AI, and there's a way to use AI to result in you owning what's creating, you not getting sued, and you not losing your content. That's what I train people on.
Wow. And this is a very unregulated space. I mean, the world's social media world is unregulated, but especially our niche here in e-commerce is, that's typical. You do something, you say something, you create something, and then the next week you're like, wait a minute, that's my thing. It happens all the time. And I mean, from just the creation side of virtual products or actual products, it's maddening. Yes, when you do something. So I'm excited that you're here and speaking on this, because I happened to this like happy accident. My whole life is a happy accident. So so, you need to connect with people like you who have the education and resources and can kind of like help lead. So we just don't get the wrong end of the, like get messed over by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's nobody's fault, because like as a content creator, you're not thinking about these things. All you're doing is thinking of creating, building an audience, building a following, getting people to purchase what you're providing, or to be trained and helped with the information that you're providing. But you're not thinking about any of this. And there's nobody training this, because honestly, we as lawyers can sit back and make $600 to $1,000 an hour, just staying in our lake houses and making money. Like we can do that. So something has to happen to inspire somebody to leave, their ivory tower and train people. And I think my story is more like I was born in the projects of Brooklyn. I see where I am now, and I'm like, this information needs to be to everyone. The law is supposed to help everyone. And people usually think of it as something that's boring, but what if it could give you a strategic edge?
Right.
Like what if like you, with your brand, with the name that you came up with for your course, with the content you're using, the colors, even the colors that you're using, the color schemes, they're protectable under trade dress. People don't even know this stuff. And so what if you understood how to protect your websites, your funnels, your courses, and you can hit the market spending almost no money and prevent people from copying? Well, then all of a sudden you got a monopoly. So it helps. Those are the guys that are making big bucks. but those guys are paying a ton of money to lawyers. Well, who's going to get this information? That's why I'm doing these online courses to train people, so it could just help everybody.
Yeah, and this is why we're doing this right now, because Peter has a masterclass coming up that will post all the links, and I will be there. I need to learn. I feel like we're all in the catch-up game with AI because it's evolving so quickly. It's like, and I think it first came out and we're like all asking the stupidest questions, and then we heard your, we're like, how far are we from birth moons?
My best friend, she's like, put in your birthday and find out all your moons. I'm like, okay, perfect.
Yeah, and then we're like, wait a minute, who's gonna win the game, and who's, and then it evolved into our business real quick, and then you hear about your story where all of a sudden, Peter told us this story before this, how like you can really mess yourself over if you don't understand AI. And I think most of us don't understand what's happening on the back end when we just go put our question in. What can actually happen? So can you share a little bit more about like the dangers of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just finished speaking at an event, Creator Hub in Orlando, Florida. And from there, I was on a panel with the head of marketing sales for Alibaba in the Northeast. He invited me to go to Co-Create, which is where I met you, right? Alibaba's Co-Create. And so when I was over there, I was just talking to different people about these issues. And I can honestly say, I think only 2 people out of the tons of people that I spoke to understood anything that I'm about to tell you about, which blows my mind because all of them are making money on their content and practically no one knew about this stuff. So there was a major marketing corporation. The head of the company reached out to me recently after I was talking on this topic in Orlando, Florida. And he said, hey, I've got a question. I'm a little concerned about it. Can we turn off the camera? Because I was originally on his podcast. It was a live podcast. And then he's like, can we turn off the camera? I said, yeah, sure. And so he said, I've got to ask you something. All of my clients' information, because I want to be able to provide them with the best packages possible, market this stuff best, come out with the right copy, come out with the right images. What we do is we upload all their information into ChatGPT. And I go, okay, what do you mean by you upload all their information in ChatGPT? Well, their spending, their name, address, their location, their phone numbers, their, basically their strategic plan, what they're selling, what's coming out next year, what we're working with them on. And I said, hold it. What do you mean? He says, no, we just upload all that. I have my admin upload it all in there, and then we can just go into our account and just kind of work. And I said, right, are you using privacy settings? Are you using ChatGPT Enterprise? Like, what are you doing? He says, no, we're just uploading in there, and then it's great. Like, we type queries and we get all the information with you. I said, yeah, and anybody else typing queries looking for your marketing company will come up with the same information for your clients. And he said, whoa, what are you talking about? I said, it's a neural network. AI, the engines are trained by the data that's uploaded into them. If you're not paying anything, chances are that your content actually is the payment that you're making and using that. So it's training the model, so the model gets smarter and smarter. How do you think it knows how to answer you? Because all that content is there, but that content is not maintained as confidential. Any third party can access it by using the right prompts. And in fact, they'll get a derivative of what you actually uploaded. Now he's freaking out. Now he's kind of, well, hold it. Does that mean I'm in violation of my NDA? I said, well, I'm not your lawyer, but if your NDA says you can't disclose the content that you're receiving from them and providing it to third parties, well, you're in violation. But I would talk to your lawyer about this. And they're just freaking out, like completely freaking out. And so they asked, well, can I pull my content? I said, no, this was the Samsung thing that happened 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Samsung had 2 engineers, software engineers, that uploaded the source code. Trade secret, confidential information from Samsung got uploaded into ChatGPT because the code wasn't working right. ChatGPT fixed it, but then the directors at Samsung, this isn't a little company, the directors at Samsung said, WTF, like what just happened here, guys? Where did you upload our stuff? And they said, well, OpenAI's ChatGPT. So the directors at Samsung reached out to OpenAI and said, hey, you guys have got our confidential trade secrets in your system. we need our source code pulled. And OpenAI said, well, sorry, there's no way. It's not physically possible to pull it. I mean, for anybody who's ever cooked, right? For anybody, if somebody's allergic to garlic and you've got sauce and you drop a garlic clove in the sauce, you can't just grab the clove and take it out. Like the oils are now in the sauce. Like it's in there. You can't get it out. And that's what happens with AI. Once it's in there, you can't get it out. So there's a visual for you. So Samsung completely freaked out and they tried to work out all sorts of deals, but OpenAI said it's not possible. You know, I was in Portugal recently, and not Portugal. I went to Portugal, then I went to Venice, then I went to Rome. And one of the lines they use in Rome is, it's not possible. It's the most annoying thing to hear from somebody. When you ask for, like, you know, can I get that pizza heated up? It's not possible. Like, that's how they talk. It's not possible. Well, if you put it into AI and you want it out, it's not possible. So just understand that. Don't put confidential stuff in there unless you're using a closed system like ChatGPT Enterprise, or using the settings that are confidential. Like all that kind of stuff I train people on how to do in the AI do's and don'ts masterclass that we're doing.
And that's why it's important to read terms and conditions and not just agree to stuff.
Nobody wants to read. I mean, nobody wants to read 30
But
pages.
imagine. And that's why, like, people are always like, oh, my privacy, my privacy. I'm like, you've given away your, like, privacy is a figment of your imagination. You've given away so much that you don't even realize just with using your phone a lot of the time. Like, it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Or if it does, you pay a lot of money for it. Like,
yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, people are buying these little devices so they can figure out where their kids are going. You know, they put it on the cars. And it's like, well, you could actually do it with their cell phone. It's not that difficult. Like, it's the same triangulation and using GPS signals. It's all the same stuff. So yeah, privacy is a really important thing. But I mean, to me, the most important thing for content creators is that they get paid and that they control their content. Nobody else should be grabbing your courses, grabbing your videos, grabbing your books without you getting paid, or you permitting them to do that. Otherwise, people create snippets of the stuff that you're saying, but they clip it at the wrong time, so the wrong message comes out, or they take your content and they put their own. What they're doing now is deep fakes. So they'll take a really popular video that Emily has, and then they'll put their face on it and their voiceover, and they're just running the exact same video that got like 3 million views. They're running the exact same thing, and they're offering their own product right off of that. That's called copyright infringement. So you got to learn how the system works for you to actually make money. Otherwise, you're just dabbling.
Yeah.
I actually know a lot of people who got in trouble because, like you said, you're not thinking about these things. This is reselling, but in a little bit of a different way. Etsy, there was a lot of people who were back during like the COVID time when people were making shirts and cups and all that, who got like cease and desist letters from like Disney and Hello Kitty. And some of them, it wasn't just cease and desist, like they had to pay because they were saying like you're using the image or you're using the likeness of the image or the whatever I think a lot of them were like Mickey Mouse and those like type of characters. And people were like, I can't afford this. Like, I can't afford this. And like, I mean, some people had to pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like they had to file for bankruptcy. And I was just like, oh, like these are things, you know, like when you see, oh, let's make a shirt or something and sell it. Like you're not thinking about those things.
Yeah, what Morgan just said is so spot on. And those are the phone calls that I get. People that get into trouble. They're trying to find a way out, so they hire the lawyer to help them out. But now I'm billing them at $600 an hour to save them because they didn't have basic knowledge. And this is a really big issue. But I mean, think of it from the other side as well. Like, imagine you come out with the perfect picture of your perfect product that you're selling on Amazon or eBay, and you're making like tens of thousands of dollars, let's say, per month, or you're going into hundreds of thousands, or you're just making 1,000, whatever. It's a revenue stream. And somebody takes that exact image, they copy that image, they take your product, they have somebody in China make the exact same product, and now they're running the exact same ad sequence, the same copy. That's called copyright infringement. So if you understand these things, what you can do is take your image, file for a copyright for $65 at copyright.gov, which is dirt cheap. Now you own your image. Then you can take your copy, like your website or your funnel, you can protect that. so nobody can copy that. And even your product, there's ways to protect your products. But what you do now is if somebody copies it, you just select the button that says IP dispute on eBay or Amazon or Etsy or Alibaba, and you put in your registration number and boom, they pull it.
Okay.
So instead of having to do this massive battle for an elongated period of time and spend tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, you spend almost nothing because you understand the system. You have to understand how the system works. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're just competing. It's like I'm selling lemonade outside my garage door and you are right next to me. So, but then I have like the best lemonade in the world. So then what I do, I break into your house, I take your lemonade, I sell it at my house. Like that's what's happening right now. But what if you could own the stuff that you're creating and you can regulate who can utilize it? So if people copy it, you can shut them down. This is how you build a business as opposed to building a temporary revenue stream.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So as resellers, a lot of between like me, Emily, and Jen, like the type of reselling that we do a lot of the time is we go, I'm going to use Oreos, for example. We go buy a pack of Oreos and then we resell it on Amazon or we resell it on Walmart. So what protections can we take on these platforms when we're selling to not get IPs from whether it be the brand or the platform?
So you mean like, let's say I buy something and I resell what I bought. You can do that.
Yeah.
Right? I can do that. I can't say that I'm a distributor for them because that's actually false marketing, right? It's deceptive. I can run into trade practice issues. It can be nasty, right? Especially if I'm using their logos on top of that, because I don't have a right to use their logos. Because if I use their logos, as an example, let's say I buy a pair of sneakers, but then what I do is I create a funnel and I have the Nike logo, the Nike swoosh on the middle of the page, and it looks like I actually am a distributor for them when I'm not. Now, if I have a picture of the sneakers that I'm selling, that's fine because those are just products that I'm selling. But the second I start making it look like I'm a representative of the company, that's misleading to the public. I can run into trademark infringement issues for using their logos, like using the word Nike or the Nike swoosh, so just do it. Those can give me problems. But I can resell all day long. That's not a problem. Reselling is not a problem. The tricky part is like, let's say if I start building a business where I'm reselling other people's stuff, but now I have my own name and I want to protect my own name. So let's say it's like ABC Company. I can protect the name ABC Company through a trademark. I can file, let's say if I'm selling electronics, that's International Class 9. So then I just file a trademark for ABC Company in International Class 9. It's like the government fees like $350. If you use an attorney, it's usually around $1,500 or something like that total for the filing. And now you own that name through all of the United States. Nobody else could use that name. So if somebody else comes along and makes believe they're you shut them down just by providing your registration number to eBay or Amazon or Alibaba or Etsy or whatever. Second you give them that number, they'll shut them down. You don't have to spend any money in battle. So that's the way I would protect your own company, even if you're reselling other people's stuff. People do that all the time. The dollar store is predominantly reselling other people's stuff.
Yeah.
It's like really low cost for things that have existed.
So you suggest registering your name to protect yourself.
Correct. Right. So if you have, or let's say that you buy things in high volume and then you repackage and you sell, right? So there's a lot of people out there that will take, let's say 10 different products. They'll come up and create a box. And in the box, it has like 10 different items from different companies, right? And there's it's a big market right now. And so, but they'll give a name to their box. So they'll call it like Vortex or something like that, right? And so now they protect the name Vortex. And so once they have that, nobody else can use the name Vortex. Literally nobody in the United States. What you don't want to do is start filing for your name in individual states. That's a waste of time and money. If you file one application with the federal government at uspto.gov, you own the name in all states of the United States instead of one. So why should you spend $275, $300 in one state when you can own all of the United States for $350? Again, nobody tells you this.
And do you need a lawyer to do that?
You don't, but it would be foolish not to use a lawyer the first time you do it, honestly, because if you make one mistake, you can't fix trademarks. So let's say that you, instead of saying, vortex, like it came up like VORTEX, and what you wanted was VORTECHS. Let's say, you say you did a misspelling or you did something wrong. You can't fix it. Like you have to refile from scratch. The other thing is that an IP attorney would understand what exactly are you using it for now and what you potentially will use it for in the future, so that it covers all your goods and where you're going as a business strategy, so that you don't have to refile things over and over and over. The other thing is that there's this thing which most people don't know about. It's called an intent to use application. It's a Section 1B application instead of a Section 1A application. What that means is, let's say you come up with a name, but you're not selling a product yet. You can file the application now so nobody can ever use that name. You can shut it down now. This is what people do with domain names, right? For $9.95, you go to namecheap.com and you own like 100 different domain names like I do, right? And so I got a friend of mine who owns thousands, literally. I don't know what he's doing. He's just collecting them. I don't get it. But like, it's just insane. It's like, I think he has an addiction. But, but if you own the trademark as an intent to use, then for up to 3 years, you own it before you started using it. It's amazing stuff that you can do if you understand the system. And one of the hardest things for people to do is to come up with an original name. If you put a bunch of nerds like myself in a room, I think the word nerd is actually a compliment, but you put a bunch of nerds in a room.
Nerds are awesome.
Yeah, right? Nerds are awesome. Like, that's the way I look at it.
Not so much. Nerds are my jam. So.
Yes. There you go. So if you put a bunch of nerds in a room, they'll come out with a new invention in moments. Like a new technology, a new invention, a new system, new method. They're really good at that. Ask them to come up with an original name.
Right.
It's so hard. It's because there's only so many letters in the English alphabet. There's only so many words in the English alphabet. Or in the English language. So it's hard. It's really hard. I've represented like MIT, Georgetown. I've represented Boston Acoustics, and whenever they came out with a new product, they'd sit in a room for like weeks. They couldn't come up with an original name. So they started calling things like the X100. If you start calling things your X100, it means you copped out. That's really what it means. You couldn't come out with an original name. Yeah. Like, this is our Z20. Like, okay, you couldn't come out with a name. Got it.
That's hilarious.
I used to work in a product development company with a bunch of engineers, so that's why I'm very familiar with the electrical engineers and mechanical engineers. I'm like, the names, just okay, guys.
It's so hard. It's so unfair. Like, they come out with the best product launch. They're ready to go. Yeah. What's it called?
Cleaning apparatus, because the apparatus are literally that's what they need. One thing I was like, oh my god, you guys.
that's literally what happens. And then what you see is like they're coming down to the wire and they're like, what are we gonna do? It's the X250. All right, we'll go with it. Go with it. Yes. And that just means you couldn't come out with a better name. That's all it means. Yeah.
So I have a question. Amazon has done a huge catalog cleanup recently. And so there was a lot of things that we were all selling on that were kind of bundles and multi-packs of things. And so now you see a lot of that cleaned up, but you see a lot of people that are branded, like they've branded their company name, like you said, and they're making these products, but they are not the brand. Like they are just bundling, these items into multi-packs or kind of making a back to school bundle of lots of different products and stuff. What is the liability with some of that? Because I heard that's not what they should do, but I'm still seeing a lot of those things exist on Amazon. What's your take on that?
You got to be careful with these. And this is what we were just talking about, the bundles, right? So people they'll create a box and it has 10 different items and they call it Vortex. And so they own the name Vortex. What you can't do is make it so that you seem like a distributor for these companies, because you're not. Right. That's a big issue. But you can, by all means, buy other people's stuff, put it in a box and sell it. That's not a problem. Just buy that. But you've got to be careful that doesn't seem like you're a representative of the companies, and that's where people are going wrong, is that they'll take multiple Nike items, they'll put it in a package and they'll put the name Nike on it and they'll sell it. That's trademark infringement. Okay. That's just flat out trademark infringement. And they're getting sued. I mean, right now there's a lot of lawsuits that are being filed against content creators. And I'm not exaggerating. Like it's how you've heard here. It's been mentioned more than once now. Content creators are getting nailed. And the unfortunate part is that courts don't care that you didn't know. Like if it's infringement, it's infringement. Yeah. And then what happens is that at the damages phase, they determine whether or not your intent was an issue or not. And so they might decrease the amount of damages, but you're still liable, which means you still need to pay a lawyer to be in court and deal with 2 years of litigation and all their expenses. In every litigation matter, there's always one winner. That's the lawyer. Yeah. Like that's just the lawyer always wins because the lawyer's always paid. Yeah. Right. And that's not to give a bad name to lawyers because I'm a lawyer. But the point is you've got to know what you're doing. And so if you're taking other people's stuff, like you're buying all these things, you're putting them into a package and then you're selling it, just make sure you're not making it seem that it's your product, or like this is my line. Like you don't do that because it's not your line. It's other people's stuff that you put together. So you can give it, this is called the Vortex line. It's for household work. And that's great. And so you market it as Vortex and you're taking what you bought, putting into a package and selling it. You can resell stuff. That's not a problem. It's the mislabeling. It's the misguiding. That's where people are getting nailed real badly.
So should you even mention the brands that are included in that package? Like say you did that and you had a bunch of Nike stuff. If you were trying to then create the Vortex box, would you say athletic gear and not even mention?
That's what I would do. I would do. But okay. I mean, what I've even seen people do this. I'd say in every box, there's going to be at least one pair of Nike sneakers. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Okay. Where you run into problems is where you actually have on the box Nike. Okay. That's because what people are doing is they're trying to market this stuff. And in they're trying to market, they're taking the labels, the trademarks of other people, and they're marketing them on their websites, their funnels, their packaging, in their podcasts, on their, all their advertisements, in their Facebook ads, in their LinkedIn ads. That's where this is where they're getting in trouble because they're using other people's trademarks as if it's their own. You cannot do that. And these companies are catching on because what's really happening is that people are finding things that are on sale and they're packaging the things that are on sale at a premium. So they're making more money. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to be careful how you do it. So don't be using the trademarks of other people improperly. You can say, hey, in this box that we have here, we've got like an Apple Watch. We've got an Apple iPod. We've got, a pair of Nike sneakers. This is like our athletic bundle. But I would also have disclaimers there saying, we are not representatives of these companies. We're not distributors. We're not retailers. I would have all the disclaimers there and make it very clear so that you don't run into problems. Because the main company is making money by selling those things at a discount to you. So they're not upset about that. They just don't want it seeming like you're a representative of their company. That's a big problem. That's where you can get into a lot of trouble.
Okay. That makes sense.
And it's a very active area.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad that this is like perfect timing to have you because I feel like, I don't know, I guess in the private label space, I feel like I see so much education there. I could be wrong, but there's resources for private label. But if you are in wholesale, there's a lack of education. A lot of people started in wholesale because, your dad had a grocery store and he bought stuff from distributors and now you're moving that grocery store to Amazon and Walmart. So you've had this like inroad or you just like jumping in because you watched a course, watched a YouTube video. And there's not, I think that's why we're feeling this now because there's not a lot of regulation. There hasn't been, especially post-COVID still. It seems like even though that was forever ago, we're still cleaning up from that era. So I appreciate you taking the time to share all of this because we are lacking, there's a lot of misinformation. So tell us about the masterclass you are offering.
Yeah, absolutely. So I created this masterclass because a lot of people just aren't familiar with this information, and it's absolutely vital right now. People are saying that AI, the law in AI is getting developed. It's actually old law that's being applied. It's just to have the knowledge on the technological side makes it so that you realize it's old law. So what I'm doing is a training on how to protect yourself and your content in the world of AI. All right. So if you are using AI in any way, shape, or form, generative AI, ChatGPT, Midjourney, Sora, like there's a billion, I mean, not billions, but there's thousands of different AI platforms right now, and they're growing. I train you on how to figure out which platforms are safe to use. What are the configurations you should use in these platforms so you don't lose your content? How can you make it so your content's not scraped, which is a big stuff. If your stuff is online, people are scraping it, and your images, your courses are all being disseminated to the public without your knowledge. I teach you at least 5 ways to block scraping of your content. If you're uploading your images onto different AI platforms, I teach you how to make sure that what you're uploading doesn't get harvested, isn't used to train the model, so that your client's information, your information does not go to third parties. So basically what I'm doing is I'm training all of you on how to make sure that your content does not become available to third parties. You can own what's created, and you don't get sued for the results of what you create using AI. It's called the AI Do's and Don'ts Masterclass. This is taking place September 24th to the 26th. It's 3 days. It's only 1 hour a day. I bill at $600 an hour, and for the entire training is $47. And so, yeah. So the reason why I'm doing this, because I've had lawyers literally ask me, why don't you make this a $1,300 course and just have it for lawyers? Because lawyers need to learn this too. Like I literally just finished teaching at the state bar on this, and lawyers were shocked when I told them, hey, you can't be doing this. You can't upload the disclosure for the patent application that you're drafting and have it create sample claims, because you just gave your clients confidential information to the world.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an ethical violation, and it's also the potential public disclosure of the person's information, which means that they can't now protect their rights in foreign countries. Like there's all sorts of issues that nobody knows about. So I'm not going to bore you with all the legal blather. What I'm going to do is show you how to use these systems, how to select the system so you don't get in trouble, how to make sure that you financially gain using these platforms, and make sure people don't harvest your content, you don't get sued, so that you can take advantage of AI the right way. That's what this training is on.
Wow.
It's awesome.
And you're also going to get the recordings, because it's physically impossible to be in one of my trainings and be able to write fast enough. It's people just like
do ChatGPT. Listen. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, I shut that down too. I literally have had in some of my trainings, you'll see like AI things, and then I have certain filter software that lets me know when people have hidden AI going.
Yeah.
And I'll say, look, this is your final warning. If you don't shut it down, I'm shutting you down.
Wow.
And so there'll always be 1 or 2 that are still there, and then I shut them down, and I refund them the money, and I said, don't come to one of my courses again.
Wow.
Because what they're trying to do is copy my stuff. And
No. The ghost note takers or whatever they call them.
Oh yeah. They're all there. And but I mean, to a lot of people's defense, a lot of them don't know. Like a lot of people are signing in through platforms. They have no clue that AI is being used. They have no malintent, none at all. So we're trying to train them on what should you do. As an example, if you create images for a marketing campaign, right? Adobe Firefly is phenomenal. Why? Adobe Firefly is phenomenal because every single image there is owned by them. It's either open source or it's licensed, which means you cannot, I shouldn't say cannot, the chances of you being sued for using an image created by Adobe Firefly is so slim, it's almost not worth discussing because it's their content. It's a really bad business model to sue somebody who's paying you monthly for using your platform. It's really a bad model to sue them for using your results. So you're not going to get sued by them.
Yeah.
So there's correct platforms to use. And with so many different platforms coming out, you got to be careful. There's a major influencer who came out and said, this is what I want you guys to do. You got a new website? Here's what we're going to do. take the URL of the website that you actually like. You're going to upload it to this AI site. It's going to scrape the content. You're going to take the results, upload it into ClickFunnels, and you now have their website. That's called copyright infringement.
Holy.
That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Wow.
Literally. And guess how much you have to pay to take this influencer's course?
A lot.
$295 to take his course to learn how to commit copyright infringement.
I mean, and he's just taking in the money, and people are getting
like he's making mad money on other people's misfunction. So you've got to be careful. There's I'll tell you one other one just as a free token for people here that don't know this. There's a site, Logo AI. If you go to Logo AI, it's AI, but what it does is it uses scraped content. So if you create a logo using their site, you type in a word, it allows you to select the style of the logo, the colors of the logo, like all sorts of stuff. And then it spits out dozens of options. What I've done multiple times live is I've run the process, I've taken the image that's rendered, and then I've done a search, and I found out that it's a federally registered trademark of another party.
Wow.
Yes. I actually did that on accident. I created a business, and I was like, somebody was like, oh, use ChatGPT to come up with your logo. And I was like, oh, that's so smart. So then I got one, and I was like, I feel like I've seen this. Like, and it was such a small place. I forget where I saw it, but I was like, let me Google this. And I dropped it into Google, and sure enough, it popped up. So then I started doing it for all of them. Sure enough, they were all coming up. So now I try to say use features that are not a registered trademark, and then I kind of combine a little bit of other things. But yeah, I was like, that's crazy that they just gave you somebody's legally registered logo.
Wow.
And imagine not only walking into a lawsuit, but paying to get in a lawsuit. I mean, that's really bad. Like, you're paying somebody $49, $59 to then walk you into a lawsuit. Like, I mean, to their defense, it does have a disclaimer on their site that says, look, we don't do trademark searches. We don't do copyright searches. So they let you know.
Nobody reads that.
But nobody reads it.
Yeah.
So what I do in the training is I actually show everybody in one of the sessions. It's 3 days. It's 1 hour a day online on Zoom. It's all virtual. There's a VIP option. Over 50% of the people go into VIP. Why? Because they want to ask questions. And in VIP, I guarantee I'm going to answer at least one question for everybody in the room. And so I stay there for like 2 hours, and I literally answer everybody's questions, at least one from every single person. I could probably take that clip and sell that clip alone for hundreds of dollars, because it's really good. Because there's people at all sorts of businesses that ask really good questions. But the thing for Logo AI is they do give you the disclaimer. And the other thing to their defense is that while the name Apple is protected by the Apple Corporation for electronics, it's not protected for refrigerators, right? Mm-hmm. So you can get a logo that comes out that's safe to use in another international class, even though it's a federally registered trademark of another party in one international class. So it's just messy. It's just really messy. So you have to understand how the system works.
Right. Wow. It seems like the masterclass is good for anybody who's using a computer and who has a business.
Yeah.
Who wants to have a business? These are the things that I tell my kids is like, I don't want them to be on social media because they don't know how yet to live on social media. They don't understand their blueprint is forever.
Yes.
So this is probably the thing that is a good, you need to go through it once just to make sure you don't hurt yourself the first time and you have a good direction. So this is like perfect timing. I'm so glad that this is available and you're offering this at an affordable price too is amazing.
Yeah, it's just a passion of mine to make sure the information gets to everyone, not only the people that can afford, high fees. It's like, give it to everyone. Because I really believe if you can get this information to everyone, everybody can be successful. Everybody benefits. Yeah. That means like everybody's like making money. Nobody's getting stuff stolen. It's a hope, but if you have the knowledge, you should be disseminating information.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Peter, for joining us today. We'll have to have you back, and you can share some more tidbits with us. I think especially come the new year, people are kind of launching new businesses and coming up for air and could probably use some more of your wonderful advice. So again, we really appreciate having you on today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Happy to do that. And I can get you more information on the regulations associated with reselling, because there is some regulations you got to be careful about. So I can get you some info.
Are you taking clients right now for like signing up for trademarks, or if people have IP issues, any of that?
Absolutely. Yes. So I also run an intellectual property law firm. So I was an IP attorney at one place. I ran their IP department and their patent law department for 17 years. And I just felt this calling to go and build my own firm, because there's certain things I wanted to do on the educational side too. And I knew I couldn't really do it in certain environments. And then I had multiple clients that randomly came to me and said, hey, why don't you have your own firm? And it was just kind of strange how it all happened at the exact same time. So I left and started my own firm 3 years ago after 24 years of practice. And it's just exploding. Like, we're really, really blessed, very fortunate. And so we're happy to serve anybody here. If you got trademark work, copyright work, patent work, licensing, like even if you need the privacy policies, terms and conditions, non-disclosure, non-competes, if you're working with other people on Fiverr and you need your engagement agreement with them, so everything that they create, you own, we have all that stuff and we can help you guys out. So that's at nieves.com.
Perfect. Okay, we'll make sure to
so much.
All your information in kind of all the description we post out with the podcast. So again, thank you so much. We will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.
Take care.